Hey, this is Brad, Blue Nile Farm. Welcome to the tub grinder rebuild part number 2. We're talking mostly about disassembly of the tub itself, the platform, the screens, and what we had to do to cut this thing apart just to get the old pieces out. And we're going to eventually, in part 3, start putting it back together. So part 2, we're going to cover all the items that we had to remove. So stay tuned and enjoy the video. So here's the actual tub itself. It's been removed. 2 holes were placed into the rim and 2 eye bolts were inserted so we can pick up and move this tub as we need to. So our biggest problem right now is working on the base. But there's the actual tub itself. So Aaron's on the top of the machine, and he's going to be cutting off all the welds to get this plate off. So he cut all the welds on the base, and now he's cutting around the mill so we can lift this plate off so we can get to the mill. And then we're going to be cutting that mill out, and then we'll see where that takes us. So with that said, this is kind of our status right now, and once he's done with this part on the mill part, we're going to try to lift this thing off, and then you kind of get a better view of what we have. Well, this is day 2 of us trying to cut this top plate off, and we thought it was going to be easy cutting around the welds. Well, turned out to be there's so many welds on this thing, it's almost impossible. The deck itself is rusty, so we're going to rebuild it. So we're just going to cut this thing off in pieces. I'm not a cutter or a welder. Aaron, that's what he does for a living. But, you know, I bought these tanks, and I guess I haven't cut anything in like 40 years since vocational school. So I'm going to get up here and start cutting away, and hopefully it all works out good. And in the meanwhile, you know, I've actually had to buy new tanks. I had to go buy a Rosebud keyer to apply to my torch set to take off another project, which I'll talk about later. And you know, the whole torch thing's kind of a new experience for me, dealing with tip size and so on and so forth. But you know, it's a good learning experience, and like I say, you can't go wrong learning new stuff. So I'm open to it, and you know, you're never too old to learn or relearn things. And I remember being in vocational school cutting stuff up all the time. So hopefully this stuff will come back to me pretty fast, and I'm kind of excited about that too. But with that said, I'm going to be piecing this off the best we can. There's so many different welds inside here. We took a set of forks, thought we'd break some of these welds, and wound up prying this thing up, and it's almost impossible. And I can't even come close to get that mill out until we chunk this out. So this is where we're at, and show you how far we go after we cut some of these pieces. So here are a few pics of how it was sectioned off, give you a basic idea of how it looked. So down here on the ground are all the sheets that were on the turntable that was underneath the tub grinder. So we're going to have to remake this whole thing, and I had to cut it off in numerous different pieces. But you know, what we realized after we were done with this is there was no way that you'd fix anything on that tub grinder unless you had to go through this process. So what we're doing, I feel, is real necessary. And you know, the steel on that was real thin and rusty. So I'm glad that we did this, and we're taking it in stride. So now we're down to the mill itself, and you're going to see numerous photographs of how they're laid out on different angles. And there's just a lot of cutting and a lot of trying to figure out how to extract this mill. So I decided to cut around the bearings and lift it out, and it was the best thing I could do. So here's the aftermath after cutting out the mill. You can see the screen that's actually in. This is the front of it. It was kind of tough to cut. And you can see that the screen's pretty ineffective. And it's locked in, so we can't replace that if we wanted to. So doing the things we had to do to cut this out was the only way I would be able to fix anything that broke in here. So it's definitely ineffective in the current status. This is the back end of it. Kind of can see how that's cut out, and we're gonna have to redevelop a frame. I don't know if we're going to use this existing box or not. You may want to, but again, you can see how the screen is actually welded into the unit, and all the screen does is the material goes right into the conveyor. shoots it right up the ramp. So there's really not much to this. It's very simple as far as the idea goes, but definitely needs to be redefined so it's user friendly, and it's definitely not user friendly in its current condition. Down here is the actual screen itself. It's really small. Like I said, the mill's 2 foot wide, but this is the screen, and it was set up, like so. And it was made for more finer stuff, but we're going to basically design this and probably get a screen that was made from or for a specific unit. So if I need to replace screen sizes, I can easily do that and design it where the screens can come easily in and out. The problem with this screen, it was welded in. There was no way it was coming out. And again, I'm glad that we did this too. But that's actually the screen. So right here you can see where the mill was and where the screen was in here. Screen's been completely cut out. And so what you have is that this bin, right where this seam goes, right down the line, I'm going to have to cut these pieces out up here because they're kind of in the way. But we don't want to cut any lower down here because that's where we're going to build our structure up. It's already concave to go into the conveyor belt. So we don't want to mess with anything in here. But this stuff along this edge here, I'll probably have to cut that out. And we're going to, again, make it a new box so this thing sits properly. So this is kind of where we're at. I'm probably going to end the video as far as the tear out where we're at right now, but you kind of get the gist of where we're going with this. But everything's going to be brand new when we're done, and hopefully it's going to be functional. It's going to be easily to be taken apart, which is more important if something does break. So here's the mill finally taken out, and you can see the ineffective hammers that are actually on this. They're going to be reconfigured with carbide tips, and that's going to be something my mechanic Zach is going to do and develop this, and I'm kind of excited about this. But this is the heart and soul of the machine. There's really not much to it, but it had to be cut out. There's bearings on both sides. They're going to be replaced, and whatever he decides he needs to do. So here you have it. This is the mill. This is the most important piece, and this has been extracted from the machine, and hopefully he can redefine it and make it into a usable piece of equipment. Hey guys, thanks for watching part 2 of the tub grinder rebuild. At least you got to see what we had to go through, and again, you're going to see what it looks like new when we put it back together. This thing was just a huge mess, and I'm glad we redid it. Zach's going to work on that mill itself and redefine it and make it to what it needs to be. And I just got 2 more pieces to cut off, and then I'm done. So then we're going to get into part 3 where we're starting to put this thing back together. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys soon.